I couldn't believe what I was looking at the first time I saw it. Right there, sprawled across the back edge of my property, was a brand new building. Not a shed, not a fence. It's a full-blown office, complete with tinted windows and a shiny sign that read, HOA Headquarters. And guess who built it? Karen, our neighborhood's self-appointed ruler, president of the HOA, an absolute nightmare of a neighbor. She didn't ask, she didn't warn, she just built it. On my land. At first, I thought it was some kind of mix-up. Maybe the contractors got the boundary wrong, so I walked over to talk to her. Big mistake. She looked me dead in the eye and said, "We're expanding. You'll thank me later." No apology, no paperwork, just attitude and an unshakable sense of entitlement. I tried reasoning with her. I showed her the property lines, the legal documents, everything. She shrugged and said the HOA had voted on it. I wasn't even at that meeting. Turns out, I wasn't invited. She claimed it was an emergency session. Yeah, right. It wasn't long before this tiny office turned into a whole operation. Cars started coming in and out. Random people showing up. Security cameras going up. It felt like she was building her own little empire on my dime. And every time I tried to push back, she'd slap me with bogus HOA fines or noise complaints. From meetings I never even knew were happening. But then something happened that changed everything. One night, flashing lights lit up the block. Sirens, officers in full gear. The kind of thing you only see in movies. SWAT teams moved in, quietly at first, then all at once. They blocked off every exit from her little headquarters. Ceiling. It shut like a pressure cooker, and in that moment, I realized, ... Karen had been hiding a lot more than just bad behavior. What they found behind those doors, that's when things really got crazy. It all started making more sense the moment I saw those SWAT vans pull up. This wasn't just about some nosy HOA leader overstepping her boundaries anymore. This was bigger. Way bigger. The officers didn't say much at first. They moved fast, no nonsense, like they already knew what they were looking for. And from the way they surrounded the building and locked down every possible exit, it was clear they weren't just here to talk. While all of us neighbors stood around in shock, Karen was nowhere to be seen. Her silver SUV was in the driveway, the lights inside her office still glowing. But she vanished. A few of her loyal HOA board members were pacing around outside, whispering to each other, trying not to panic, but you could see it on their faces. Something was wrong. Now here's where things get weird. For weeks before the raid, I'd noticed strange behavior coming from her side of the property. People arriving late at night, delivery trucks backing up into her office driveway, staying for hours. At first, I thought she was just using the place for shady HOA meetings, maybe trying to control things behind closed doors. But now I started to think those meetings had nothing to do with neighborhood rules. Karen was always obsessed with control. She'd find people for grass being half an inch too long. She'd patrol the neighborhood like a security guard. One time, she even threatened to tow my car from my own driveway because it had a dent. But what if that obsession wasn't just about power trips? What if she was covering something up behind all those made-up violations and fake meetings? When the SWAT team finally breached the doors, the whole block went silent. Everyone was waiting. No one knew what to expect. But as they started pulling stuff out, boxes, bags, electronics, it was clear this wasn't just about trespassing or zoning issues. And right when we thought we'd seen it all, one of the officers stepped out and radioed something in. He looked straight at Karen's security camera, then turned to his team. That's when it hit me whatever was going on inside that office. It had just opened up a way bigger mess than any of us were ready for. The next morning, our neighborhood felt different, like it had been flipped inside out. Police tape wrapped around Karen's so-called HOA headquarters, and nobody was allowed near it. Every neighbor had questions, but no one had answers. Rumors were spreading like wildfire. Some said it was fraud. Others whispered about illegal surveillance. A few even claimed Karen was running some kind of underground business right under our noses. I couldn't stop thinking about those late-night deliveries and the random cars coming and going. I always thought it was strange, but I never pushed hard enough to find out. Now, I wish I had. What made it worse was the fact that Karen was still missing. No arrest, no statements. Just gone. That's when I got a message. An anonymous envelope slid under my door. No return address, just a thumb drive inside. I plugged it in, half expecting it to be junk, but what I saw. Security camera footage from inside my backyard. Angles I never set up. Videos that showed me working in my garage, unloading groceries, walking my dog. Someone had been watching me, recording me. From Karen's building, I felt sick. This wasn't just about her stealing a few feet of property anymore. She'd been spying on me and maybe others, too. I told the cops, handed over the footage, but they didn't say much. Ongoing investigation, they said. Meanwhile, her inner circle, those 3 other HOA board members, were still in the neighborhood, acting like nothing happened. Smiling, walking their dogs. One of them even had the nerve to wave at me. Then one night, I saw one of them sneak into the taped-off building. He didn't stay long, maybe 10 minutes, but he came out with a duffel bag and drove off like he was in a hurry. I caught part of it on my phone, but again, when I showed the footage to the authorities, they just nodded and told me they'd look into it. Something was off. Karen's disappearance, the bag, the footage, the way the HOA was still operating like it hadn't just collapsed. It felt like I had stepped into something much deeper than a property line dispute hand. I was starting to wonder if getting Karen off my land had just been the beginning. A few days later, I woke up to the sound of heavy knocking. Not police this time, it was a city inspector. Apparently, someone had filed a formal complaint that I was running an unpermitted structure on my land. The same land Karen had illegally built on. It was so backward, I didn't even know how to respond. I explained everything, the footage, the SWAT raid, even the duffel bag. He listened politely, took some photos, then handed me a warning notice. That's when it hit me. Someone was trying to flip this whole thing back on me. The HOA board, or what was left of it, was playing defense in the most aggressive way possible. I was becoming the scapegoat. Karen was still missing, but her shadow was everywhere through her board members, her paperwork, and now even city departments. Later that night, I decided to check the footage from my own security cameras again. I hadn't looked in a while, I guess. I just assumed the worst was already over. But as I skimmed through the past few nights, I caught something that made my chest tighten. Around 2:47 a.m., a dark SUV pulled up right outside the caution tape. A man in a hoodie stepped out. He moved fast, like he knew exactly where he was going. He walked straight toward the back of the office where Karen used to keep her private files and disappeared inside. He didn't come back out for almost an hour. And when he did, he was dragging a large wheeled container, like one of those you see in storage units. He struggled to lift it into the SUV, looked around nervously, then drove off without headlights. I saved the footage and backed it up twice. This wasn't some random break-in. This guy knew the layout, knew the risks. And judging by what he took, it wasn't just old papers or office supplies. Now I had more questions than ever. What was in that container? Who was helping cover all this up? And most of all, where was Karen? The pieces were coming together, but the picture wasn't clear yet. All I knew was something big was about to break, and I might be right in the middle of it. The morning after that mysterious SUV incident, I got a call from an unknown number. I almost didn't answer, but curiosity got the better of me. A distorted voice on the other end said just 6 words: "Stop looking, or you'll regret it." Then it hung up. No explanation. No way to call back. I stood there frozen, phone still pressed to my ear. This was no longer about a property line or a nosy HOA president. Someone didn't just want Karen gone, they wanted the whole thing buried. I went to the police again, showed them the video, told them about the call, even played them the voicemail. I had quickly recorded on another phone. They said they'd added to the case, but I could tell they weren't taking it as seriously as they should. One officer quietly pulled me aside and said, "You're not the only one who's been watched. Keep your doors locked." That was the last thing he said before walking away. Later that night, something even stranger happened. My neighbor, Mark, one of the quieter guys on the block, knocked on my door. I didn't even know he knew what was going on. Kay looked nervous, jittery, eyes darting everywhere. He told me he used to be part of the HOA board before Karen took over completely. Said she pushed him out after he asked too many questions. Then he handed me something wrapped in an old t-shirt. It was a hard drive. "She used this to store backups," he whispered. "If she's really gone, this might explain everything." I plugged it into an offline laptop and started going through the folders. At first, it was the usual HOA fines, property complaints, meeting notes. But then I found a folder labeled Private, Do Not Copy. Inside were spreadsheets with strange numbers, a list of neighborhood names, Mark,